being constantly afraid and seeking protection in shelters. This is what life looks like in times of war. Yana, a 22-year-old student and journalist, tells us about her everyday life since the war started, about her work as a journalist, about her father who is in the army, and about a cat, a sign of hope. Hi, Anna. It's very good to see you again.
Hi, Lena. Yes, I am also very glad to see you again because now I'm not sure in my future, and it's good. Then I can tell it with you.
Yes, Yana, thanks to Facebook, and we're connected there, I found out I was able to write to you for your birthday. So you recently turned 22 years old, and usually birthdays are a big celebration, but in times of war, I don't know how it is. So how did you celebrate your birthday?
I didn't have any celebration like party or something like that because I didn't feel that I want something like this. But when I was in Lviv, and my brothers from Kiev, from other cities, they came. I have two brothers, and I have dinner with them and with my best friend and with my boyfriend. And it was like not a celebrating of birthday, it was like a meeting because we didn't met each other since February. And it was about telling how are we, what we are going to do. And it's sometimes very good feelings when you have 2 hours without news, for example, without air sounds, yes, there's air alarms. And because I work in news, yes, and write it, and I write them every day since February. I didn't have any days without writing news, and but these hours, they were great, yes.
Yeah, so you're working constantly since the beginning of the war as a professional journalist, although you were before a student, and now you're not only a student but also a professional journalist.
Yes, and now maybe my work life, it's one thing that has become more organized than it was when we have our last interview. Because yes, I still an editor and journalist is in our Solvay platform when we have this chronic of news in different languages. But I also, and we also now have some interviews, stories, and I also work as a research engineer. We have a project. We develop a software for automatic information analysis and detection of fake and manipulative information, which can harm the country's security. And I, in particular, my work is to collect news reports and some reports from social media, verify them, and fill in the database. And I also now work at my university as in my new media department, not like a teacher because I'm a master student now, but like in the laboratory hour.
Wow,
Yes.
that's impressive.
And I think that sometimes it's when you have a lot of work, it's easier don't be myself with my some thinkings and in the one way, but in other way I always work with something that with something when I feel the war, because it's news about war, it's like news reports also about our time.
And although these moments are rare and even precious that you don't work, what happens in these moments when it's calm, when you have maybe 5 minutes to just breathe? What kind of feelings are coming up? What are you thinking about then?
It depends on days, because I have I have all feelings that I had a year ago, for example, but they are more maybe deeper, or it's easier to be sad or be angry, because we have I understand that I used to living in war in some kind, and because when I have rest, for example, I can plan sometimes for next day, for next week, even months and years, but I plan this, but I also understand that all my plans can change in an hour, because it will be a raid siren, and maybe I will have to go down into some wild on even evacuate, and it's strange feelings, because I try to plan something because it's impossible. Don't think about future, but I also understand that every time when I go to university for my work or just go to store, I realize that I may not return home, and it's not scary anymore.
Wait,
In this,
you think that you don't return home because something could happen to you? This is
yes,
what you think.
yes, because we have, for example, in our stories or it's not only military objects that are destroyed. Yes, it's also civilian objects, and we never knew when we will have other explode in a house or in a university or in some military object. We don't know this, and that's what we just live with this thinking. But it's also some like good feelings, because I have my friends, have people with different stories, and I communicate them like a journalist, and it's something that maybe makes give me some hope, because I surrounded many people that also feel harm, feel angry and sadness, but they do something for our victory, for our surviving. And I understand that there are lots of such people in Ukraine, and I'm not alone. And it helps to be in condition to work, to live, and something.
I'm a bit speechless because what you're describing is a constant fear of death, right? How often does it happen that the alarm goes off and you need to seek a shelter?
It depends, but for example, today we have no air raids in Lviv, but yesterday it was one time, and maybe if we talk about week, yes, we can have, for example, one this alarm for a week, or 10 alarms. it's very different, because sometimes it's like in day for hour, it's not very long, or even for 20 minutes. And sometimes I still in my workplace, but sometimes it could be 2 hours in the night, 4 a.m. for example. It's very, if we talk about night, it's very often 4 a.m. something about this o'clock. And maybe I don't know exactly, because I'm not a medicine, but doctors says that this hour is very dangerous, because people with some heart issues, they mostly have problems in these hours. If you talk about infarct, something like this, yes, and it happens. And we have shelters in our flat. If I in city, I can go to other flats, or in some stores with shelters, or university have also, yes, you can find some way to go. But I don't know how many people go to shelter when they sound alarm every time, because sometimes you also have to work, or just want to sleep, and it's not very safe. But
But are you always going? Are you
no,
always deciding? No. Sometimes
no.
you stay at work, for example.
Yes, sometimes I it depends of how long this alarm. When it's longer than 40 minutes, I go. And we also have many apps, and I can see in which region also have this alarm. And we, for example, when I see it in other regions that are closer to Lviv, I understand that I will in Lviv will be next, and I can find something. And it's really like useful things. But
And
it's maybe we have this feeling of safety. We have no feeling, I have no feeling of safety in my home, for example, or in the street of anywhere. Maybe that's why sometimes I can ignore this alarm, but I try to not ignore it.
and when you are in the shelter, can you describe me the atmosphere? How many people are there? Are people afraid? Do you talk to each other?
It was more depressed on the beginning, when we talk about February, March, because we don't know what to do, and how long was it. But now it's not such sad. It depends on what shelter. For example, in flat, it can be children and dogs and cats, something like this. And sometimes it's we just talk with each other, or for example, I go with my notebook and keep working, because sometimes it's we have internet, sometimes it depends on shelter. And maybe it's when it's long, and when we should go to shelter in night, it's more depressed, because when we have children in shelter at night, they become crying because they want to sleep, and it's like it's bad feelings. But mostly we try to talk and maybe share some information about explosion or something like this. And it's like not such scary that it was. But I talk about Lviv and what we have in Lviv, and we should understand that it is maybe one of the safest place, city, because it's we have we also have such explosion and rockets, then they can go to us, yes. But in Kharkiv, for example, we have a different situation. They have this every day and not one a day, and it's not just air alarms, it's victims maybe also every day. It's not missile, only missile attacks, because in Lviv we have only missile attacks. It's also I don't know how exactly to tell in English, artillery attacks, yes, and it's worse and scarier. And also, I don't know how to leave people in Kherson, yes, it's because they are under occupation, and I can even imagine how it is.
I think around 9 months ago, both of us, together with the Media Dialogue project, we walked in the streets of Lviv, and I was just amazed by the beauty of the city. Such a beautiful city. So I haven't seen many pictures or video footage. How does the city look like now? Is a lot destroyed?
In Lviv, we don't have many destroyed buildings or something like that, because it's like far from nowadays front, and we have some destroyed military objects. We have destroyed. It was very place when you can take your car, tire fitting, something like this. And when your car have some damage, yes, you
Like a
can.
flat tire? Oh.
Yes, and we have destroyed one, and it was no reason, just explosion, yes, just rocket, and no military objects in this area. But center of city and some like ancient buildings, they are all right. But we have blog posts, we hide some sculptures and some buildings, old buildings, because of like maybe it will be less damaged for them. And many people, maybe from different regions of Ukraine, because yes, we was always like tourist city when we had many tourists in winter holidays, summer holidays, but now it's not tourists, is we have people that and they have no home, and they try to live from beginning, and sometimes they stay in Lviv for like for a long period, and some people want and hope to go home again. And it's very different people and very different stories, because we have businesses that came to Lviv from, for example, Kharkiv or Kiev, and we have people who came to Lviv from Mariupol, and it's different stories. But we have also many volunteer hubs in Lviv, because it's closer to Poland, for example, and we have like many such hubs, and it helps to people in Lviv and in other cities who have no home or no food, take it, because it's like many logistical things are in Lviv.
Where do you take the strength from? Like, you go to work every day, you work nonstop, you try to help wherever you can. So how do you do that?
I have, no, for example, I can like work in the morning and in the evening, and have my afternoon for reading, for example, or for sleeping, and it helps me because on the spring I don't sleep much, and it was not very good for my health, because when you became more anxious and more nervous, and now I try to sleep more when and we also, maybe it's we also have such things in our friends that we try to sleep when we can, because we can have alarms each night, and it like bad. And if we have some few 3 hours on days, yes, we have this rest. And also uh, I communicate with my friends, and it helps me. And also with my dad, for example, I didn't see my dad from since March, and we just chat in phone sometimes, and sometimes he calls to my mother because
Because he was fighting, he was in the army.
yes. And it's not the first time when he is in the army, because he was in 2015 also, and later sometimes. But now it's more stressful, and for example, when I spoke with him by phone uh, 5 years ago, I listened, and it was good. I could listen him good, but now I speak with him, and it always some explosions or some such sounds, and it depends by feelings. But it also something that um, that give me hope and give me some strange, because I understand that he is fighting for my future and future of my sister and of my country. And if I am here in this warm flat, I also can do my best, because it's like I don't know how just have fun all days when your parents, your friends, they fighting every day. And I also went to home for 3 weeks last month, and
Remind me again, where's home?
for Ivano-Frankivsk region in the Carpathians, to my mother and my sister for 3 weeks maybe. And it was also something that
But
made
this is where
me
your flat is, where your home is, with your
Lviv.
family? Yeah.
Uh,
So okay. Sorry, then
it
I
depends.
misunderstood.
My home is in the Carpathians in Ivano-Frankivsk region. My mother, my sister lives here, but
Okay.
I studied and now work in Lviv, and most of my time I spent in Lviv.
I see.
Yes, and but when I went to my mother, to my parents' house, yes, maybe it's better. It was like a little rest, because I still working from online, but it's a small mountain town, so we don't have air sirens everywhere. We have some in our mobile apps, of course, but it's still not such stressful as in the city, because we can just we hear them, and we can close them, and not let this have this 5 minutes of the siren. And it was some like not rest, but some place that makes me feel better, and I just when I came again to Lviv, I was more. I have more energy for working, for studying, and for living it all. And I also had some maybe funny but inspiring story because when I came home, I it was yes the first day when I came to my mother's home. My cat was back, and it was he was my I had cat in my high school, and he woke up me in the mornings for school every day. He was like stayed up
So
late
sweet.
with me. Yes, he was. I really liked him, and he was a little sad when I go to university, but he disappeared the 6th of February 2018. And now when I go to home, he was returned.
What? That's such a cute story.
Yes, but we are definitely sure that it was him because he had it had some like sins and
Some scars? Yeah.
yes, some scars that we recognize him, and
Uh-huh.
here it recognize us and our house, and it was like. Yes, I read sometimes I read about such story about animals that they can return to home after some months and years, but it was like a little magic, and it maybe not mm, something that we can associate with war, yes, but it's not directly related to war, but it inspired me because it's some uh, in such moment when I saw my cat, and now he lives in our house, and it inspired me, and some such stories, sometimes stories with people, amazing stories. It makes it takes me hope, and it easier to live uh, when you know that everyone in your realize that uh, they should maybe not should is not a good word, but um, we realize that it's difficult to live now and to do something, but we also realize that there is no option uh, to give up, for example, and we will continue to fight to live, and until we win, and it's it's not very maybe happy feeling, but it's feeling that makes me, for example, strong, and helps me not to have depression or something like this.
Thank you, Yana, for taking me to Lviv in a certain way to share your feelings and also your everyday life too. And I love the story with your cat.
Yes, it was like I don't maybe I when I saw it, I understand it was my cat, but I don't believe my eyes because how? But when he came closer and started to speak with me, it was like yes, it was very good feeling. And maybe it's I'm not very I don't believe in such in different science or astrology or something like this, but it was good sign, I think.
Yes. Thank you so much, Yana, and let's stay in touch. I would love
Yes,
that.
of course.